Hello and welcome to today's Omdia webinar, Fixed Broadband Evolution and Circular Economy Practice. This webinar is sponsored by World Broadband Association, WBBA, and broadcast by Informer Tech Target. I'm Guang Yang, Senior Principal Analyst with Omdia. Today is my great pleasure to be the moderator for our discussion today. Perhaps you have seen recently the Working Group 3 of WBBA published a white paper to discuss telecom operators' circular economy strategies and the practices during the transition from copper to fiber networks. Today, global telecom operators are expanding their fiber networks to meet the growing demand of data traffic. Meanwhile, the circular economy has become essential to operators' environmental and sustainability strategies. So today, welcome to join our webinar to learn from industry experts about fiber networks expansion and the benefits and relevant regulations around the transition from copper to fiber networks and the practice of leading operators of recycling and reusing retired copper infrastructures. So I'm excited to introduce our speaker today. I'm joined by Sarah McBride, Principal Analyst at Omdia. Sarah is my colleague. And Kagiso Modisai, Executive Broadband Technology at OpenServe. Ying Shi, Director, Green and Low Carbon Tech R&D Department at China Telecom Research Institute, and John Tisdale, Group Chief Technology Officer at TXO. So thank you all for joining our webinar today. Thank you. And before we start our discussion, I would like to remind our audience of a couple of things. Our webinar is an interactive webinar. So at the bottom of your screen, there are some buttons you can click to learn our speakers, to download our slide deck, or share this webinar with social media. And you can also join our Q&A discussion. And you can also use our QA area to let us know if you are experiencing any technical issues. And our team will do our best to help you. So now let's go to our discussion today. Yeah. Yes, here is the agenda of today's webinar. First, I will give a short introduction about our working group 3 of WBBA, and our latest white paper. Then my colleague Sarah McBride, Sarah will deliver a presentation about regulatory policies on the transition from copper to fiber networks. After that, we will have a panel discussion. I will be joined by our 3 panelists to discuss the practice and strategies of fiber expansion and how to recycle the retired copper networks. So yeah, our working group 3 is one of the 7 WBBA working groups. Our focus is on the our focus is on the environmental sustainability. We have been studying the technology and the solutions that can improve the sustainability of broadband and broadband networks and services. We are also assessing the impacts of operators' sustainability strategies on their broadband network and services. We know WBA was established in 2022. Since that, we have delivered 5 white papers regarding the sustainability strategies, potentials, and technical solutions. Our latest white paper is the topic of today's webinar. It's about the circular economy and the evolution of fixed broadband networks. We know that traditionally our economy follows a linear model. We just take the resource and the materials and make the products using these materials. And then we consume our products. And when the products left end, we just throw them away. It's a linear model, very straightforward. But the circular economy is a different model that will enable the products and the materials to be kept in a closed loop system through the process like maintenance, reuse, remanufacturing, or recycling to add sustained values. And the concept of circular economy is also relevant with our telecom sector because our telecom services are based on the network equipment and user devices. Manufacturing this equipment and devices will generate significant environmental impacts. And meanwhile, all this equipment and devices will be replaced frequently. So today we have seen many telecom operators launch their strategies and programs for the circular economy, often as a part of their wider environmental and the sustainability strategies. In our white paper, we discussed a few cases of leading operators' circular economy strategies and practices. In general, telecom operators, when they implement their circular economy strategies, there are 4 aspects. Oh, sorry, something wrong. Yeah, there are often 4 aspects for telecom operators' circular economy strategies, including the telecom recycling the network equipment, recycling or refurbish the user devices, and also to recycle the product packages. And the last but not least part is about SIM card. We have seen many operators launch the program for recycling SIM cards. So in our white paper, we discussed all the aspects with 3 cases of leading operators in the world. And actually, during the in the circular economy strategies of telecom operators, recycling the retired copper cables is a critical part, because today many operators are migrating their broadband networks from copper network infrastructure to the fiber infrastructure. This chart on this slide shows our forecast for broadband technology subscription share in the next few years. By 2029, according to our forecast, fiber will be the lead technology in 125 of the total 207 tracked markets. On the other hand, the share of DSL and the cable modem are shrinking fast. So that means many copper cables will be retired from the broadband networks. How to recycle and reuse these retired copper cables is becoming a key subject for telecom operators when they migrate their broadband network from copper-based to fiber-based. So in our white paper, we discussed a few operators' cases from different continental about how they migrate their broadband network from copper to fiber and how to recycle their retired copper infrastructures. For example, AT&T announced its copper network retirement plan in 2022 to reduce its copper footprint by 50% by the end of this year, 2025. The operator aims to complete their copper retirement by 2029. And during this process, AT&T makes the copper recycling a strategic focus. Between 2021 and 2023, the company recycled more than 14 tons of copper. And by early this year, 2025, the total had reached 32,000 tons. Because we know today the copper price on the international market is quite good, so the operator is accelerating its recycling process. And in Europe, Openreach, the BT's broadband access division, announced in 2019 it would switch off its copper network and transition customers to its full fiber connections by 2027. To recycle the retired copper infrastructure, BT has made a deal with recycling companies to support them to recycle the copper cables until 2028. With this contract, BT has received more than 100 million pounds as a prepayment for the sale of its copper cables. And according to the estimation of Openreach, they will recover up to 200,000 tons of copper through the 2030s. In Asia, we know Japan is a pioneer of the circular economy. Since 1946, just after the World War II, Japan has launched the programs for recycling of copper wire scraps. And in the telecom sector, NTT established a resource recycling review committee to set targets and promote the recycling activities within the telecom group. As early as in 1999, last century, NTT had realized 100% recycling of retired copper cables. In addition to recycling the metal, copper metal from the cables, NTT launched a new program in 2021 to reuse the plastic part of the cable sheaths. According to the operator, this recycling system can reduce the waste by around 1,800 tons per year. In emerging markets, we are also seeing operators are active to migrate from copper to fiber and to recycle their retired copper infrastructures. In this area, Telecom South Africa is a leading player. We know Telecom ceased their copper-based prepaid fixed line service in 2019, and now they are focusing on to move their customers, postpaid customers, from the copper-based infrastructure to fiber networks or fixed wireless access. During this process, the recycling program also created the new revenue source for this operator for telecom. They can sell their retired copper cables on the local or international markets. Additionally, the operator telecom also reuse the copper network infrastructure like poles, ducts, or manholes to accelerate the fiber rollout to improve the fiber deployment efficiency. So today we have Mr. Kagiso Modisai, Executive Broadband Technology from OpenServe, the wholesale and infrastructure division of Telecom, to our panel. Hopefully, he can share more information or more insights from their recycling activities in our panel discussion. So that's my short introduction. So next, my colleague Sarah will give us a presentation about the regulations of the transition from copper to fiber. So Sarah, it's your turn.
Great, thank you, Guang. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to use the next few minutes just to give a brief outline of the relevant copper switch-off regulations, policies, drivers, barriers, as well as providing global and regional market analysis of the progress towards copper switch-off, just to help set the scene a bit for the exciting panel discussion we have coming up. So the telecom market is evolving at a brisk pace, and there's been increased consumer demand for ultra-fast data connectivity and increased bandwidth beyond the capabilities of the copper network. So to address this, operators have been future-proofing their networks by progressively rolling out faster fiber connections. Operational expenses are high, though, for the maintenance of aging copper-based infrastructure. So as fiber networks are expanded, it doesn't make financial sense for incumbents to maintain two sets of infrastructure in the long term. The aim is therefore to decommission copper networks. Governments have also started to outline their long-term broadband strategies to ensure the infrastructure keeps up with technology advancements and user demands. Governments around the world have been setting coverage targets and detailing national broadband plans, which aim to drive fibre deployment. So, for example, the UK aims to cover 99% of premises with full fibre by 2032, with the support of Project Gigabit to enable hard-to-reach communities to access fast, reliable, gigabit-capable broadband. And governments are working with service providers on both public and private funding to support investment in fibre rollout. As operators migrate their customers to newer infrastructure and look to switch off their legacy networks, they must adhere to a number of regulatory requirements. They can't just simply switch off the network. Many of the requirements aim to continue to promote infrastructure competition and protect customers. Regulators have introduced requirements to provide alternative services to copper networks, such as fiber or fixed wireless access, changes to wholesale access regulation requirements, and obligations to ensure consumer protection measures are in place, such as raising end user awareness. Regulators are frequently prioritizing ensuring that telcos protect consumers, especially vulnerable customers, by obligating them to issue formal notifications to wholesale and retail customers outlining timeframes, replacement products, and pricing terms. And this increases transparency and empowers customers to make informed decisions, including early contract terminations if they choose not to migrate. Meanwhile, at the wholesale level, some regulators are already gradually relaxing rules that obligate incumbents to provide wholesale access to their copper networks. Once sufficient fiber coverage is reached, it is essential to transition wholesale obligations away from copper, because this is the final step in creating the right conditions for copper networks to be switched off. To ensure a smooth transition from copper, operators must work with national regulators, which have adopted various regulatory policy models to govern incumbents switching off their legacy networks. Some countries have been proactively designing policies to replace copper networks. So, for example, Australia and Saudi Arabia set up national broadband network companies to roll out fiber and execute copper switch off, whereas others have prioritized encouraging fiber uptake to incentivize customer migration so that copper networks can be retired. There are a number of factors regulators and operators need to consider when switching off legacy networks. Some factors can act as barriers, others can help drive progress towards switching off copper networks. And most notably, factors include the minimum consumer protection requirements for end users of copper services to ensure consumers are adequately protected during the transition from copper to fiber, such as setting minimum requirements for the availability of alternative connectivity, providing notices for the migration and termination of existing services to industry and consumers. However, long notice periods for copper switch off can be a substantial barrier to the migration process. Managing migration costs and installation costs for consumers are also important, ensuring the equivalence of retail plans and pricing on the fiber network, and additional protections for vulnerable customers. It's also important to consider other factors, such as the impact on other obligations, such as the need to support the supply of copper-based retail products through a universal service obligation, or associated wholesaling requirements, such as obligations to continue to supply copper-based wholesale products following a market review. The definition of geographical areas for copper withdrawal, which should include minimum fiber coverage and how often new areas can be designated, as well as processes for managing the migration and facilitating PSTN switch off as a precursor to copper switch off. Ensuring industry practice includes plans for migrations involving all property types, monitoring of the withdrawal process, such as record keeping and reporting, and complaints handling and dispute resolution processes, including compensation for failed migrations or loss of service. So let's take a look at the progress various countries have made with switching off their copper networks. As you can see from the map on this slide, only a few countries have so far completed the process, such as Singapore, and Norway has switched off its copper network for retail customers. While some countries have not issued a timeline yet, many more are expected to finalise the copper switch-off process by 2030 as countries begin to speed up the rollout of replacement technologies. If we take a look at the European market, though fibre is now widely available in several European countries, the pace of decommissioning the copper network is slow on the whole. The progress has been described as fragmented by the FTTH Council, with countries at varying stages of the copper withdrawal process. While copper local loop unbundling take-up is in its declining phase for most European countries, its value remains significant in places like the UK, Germany, France, and Spain. And some countries, such as Germany and Poland, have not yet set concrete targets for copper switch-off. Having said this, the number of countries where the regulator has imposed rules for the transition process has significantly increased since 2022, in particular setting notice periods and defining alternative wholesale access products, as has the number of countries where legacy network elements have already been closed. Just over half of the incumbent operators have announced their intention to close parts of their legacy network, though most of them expect the total closure not to be achieved until 2030 at the earliest, so for example in France or the UK. The migration to fibre in Spain and Portugal has been supported by intense competition in fibre-based broadband services and the popularity of ultra-fast broadband, and this makes it easier to shut down legacy networks here. Portugal continues to transition away from copper on a voluntary basis, while the Spanish incumbent Telefónica has started a programme of migration encouraged by the regulator. Economic conditions in the Middle East and North Africa region are extremely diverse, and as a result, you'll see on this slide that countries are again at varying stages of technology maturity, and so also at varying stages of the copper withdrawal process. There are countries such as the UAE and Qatar deploying fibre network infrastructure extensively, leading to 90% coverage, and this high coverage rate is facilitating the retirement of legacy copper networks, resulting in more than 85% of customers being moved to fibre. Meanwhile, some other countries are deprived of core services still, which in turn influences whether legacy networks are being switched off. Egypt is an example of a country that has made significant progress, having executed a plan to replace 95% of all copper networks with fibre by 2020. Meanwhile, there has been a dramatic decline in demand for wholesale copper services, including local loop unbundling and bitstream in Bahrain, so regulatory focus is now on fibre rather than copper. The Asia-Pacific region comprises extremely diverse constituent nations. Equally, the level of progress towards copper switch-off varies considerably across the region, as you can see on this slide. Some countries, such as New Zealand, started the process in March 2021, with Chorus's first batch of trial copper withdrawals, while Australia started switching off its network, copper network back in 2014, with plans for 100% withdrawal by December 2032. Meanwhile, Singapore turned off its copper network entirely by 2020. In contrast, in Latin America, copper retirement is progressing slowly, with many countries still facing challenges in transitioning to fibre networks due to regulatory and investment barriers, such as delays in regulatory approvals. Some have seen fast deployment of fibre, but are still far from the point where they can begin copper switch-off plans in the majority of cases. While North America has seen some movement related to copper retirement too. In the US, Verizon has initiated a network transformation project to replace its existing copper network and upgrade it with fibre facilities. Fibre was deployed to more than 76 million households by the end of 2024 in North America. So, in summary, the global picture is quite varied. Some European, Middle Eastern and North African markets in particular have made progress with the decommissioning of legacy networks. For example, the regulators and policymakers in some European countries, including France, Sweden and the UK, have set out their plans, while others have not imposed any obligations as to when the copper network must be phased out by. For a few countries, a lack of customer awareness, long notice periods, and a reluctance by incumbents to invest in fibre have been barriers in the switch-off process. Another key takeaway is that countries have adopted various policy approaches to support the retirement of copper networks. Some countries have been proactively designing policies to replace copper networks, whereas others have prioritized encouraging fiber uptake to incentivize customer migration so that copper networks can be retired. Once sufficient fiber coverage is reached, regulators should consider removing wholesale obligations from copper networks to allow them to be switched off. With the wider deployment of fiber networks, regulators are expected to begin updating existing wholesale policies to move the focus away from copper and toward fiber. In the longer term, access to wholesale fiber services will be made available to encourage competition and provide customers with greater choice. However, regulators should only impose such obligations when fiber coverage reaches a certain threshold level so as not to discourage deployment. And finally, during the copper retirement process, it is important that regulators ensure that vulnerable customers are protected. Of the several considerations for copper retirement plans, encouraging customer protection is one of the most notable. Regulators are obligating telcos to issue formal notifications to wholesale and retail customers about timeframes, replacement products, and pricing terms. And now I will hand back to Guang to lead the exciting panel discussion we've got coming up.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for the very informative presentation. So next, let's do the panel discussion. And actually, we have prepared a list of questions here. And I will go through the questions. Hopefully, we could get a few minutes at the end of the discussion and to leave our audience to ask questions. And so, first I would ask some questions to our panelists from operators, to Kagiso and Ying. And for the transition from copper to fiber, from your perspective, what benefits and what challenges will a telecom operator get or have to face during the transition process? Maybe we can start from Ying.
Okay, thank you, Guang. In China Telecom, we have our fixed network has updated to what we call the second generation of all optical network that matter most to us. I think the change is first fiber link each flow, so users report faster.
Ying, yeah, Ying, your line is not very good. Yeah, maybe we can.
Maybe Kagiso first.
Yeah. Kagiso, please share your thoughts about the transition process, benefits and challenges.
Thank you, Guang. At OpenServe, we must say we have seen significant benefit in terms of customer experience when we are continuing with our fiber-led strategy. As we have indicated, and Guan, you have shared, in 2015, we started with our fiber rollout. And in 2024, we were already at 590,000 homes that were connected with fiber. And in 2025, at the beginning of 2025, we were at 590,000 customers connected with fiber. And what we can say from this experience is that it has transformed and impacted the way we provide services to our customers. Our average time to install as we become efficient and proficient in doing fiber installation has decreased. Last year, we've seen a decrease of 1.6% on the installation time. We have seen a 20% reduction in assurance visits, and our net promoter is up 3.7%, which is 72.3. One of the good net promoter scores. And what that indicates for us is not only has the transition to fiber provided us the ability to give our consumers a good service, they are actually complaining less about the service that they get. We as an operator are able to have lower cost of maintaining the infrastructure because of the lower assurance calls that we are getting.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Kageso. Yes, Ying is back. So Ying, do you have anything to add regarding your benefits and challenges during the transition from copper to fiber? Hello, Ying?
Hi, Guang. I'm back, but I tried to re-log, but I'm not sure if. Hello, hi.
Hi, we can hear you. It's very clear. So so do you have anything to add regarding the
I've logged out
benefits and the
I tried
challenges?
to reconnect, and I think that it's even worse.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. Please share your experience from the transition from copper to fiber. Hello?
Okay. Okay, thank you. I just continue with the question that, I think we have, we have China Telecom. We have tried. We have.
Hello. I think we lost you again.
The whole network, and we call it the second generation of all optical network, and the benefits of replacing copper with fiber can be grouped into three areas that matters most to us. And the change is first felt by our customers, and they have report faster cloud access and fewer service interruptions. So overall satisfaction continues to rise. And we have the fiber links stay very stable, even at peak traffic. And even now we have the widespread of AI uses, and we have each flows, we have AI moves each flow onto the best light paths, and which all have that have a better service quality. And it's also with the fiber network, it strengthened our business. And fiber carries higher bandwidth products such as cloud desktops and edge computing, and without the limits of copper. And this premium service have brought us new sustainable revenue and help pay for the mitigation itself. And the other benefit appears on the balance sheet. We upgrade optical cables and points of presence to cut loss, while ROADM, DSP, and AI keep every laser at the lowest power that still meets quality targets. And these measures reduce network energy use and floor space by about 50% and push operating expense down by roughly 30%. So in short, all optical network 2.0 delivers higher customer satisfaction, stronger revenue, and lower operating cost, and all based on same fiber foundation. And obviously that it has we have a better sustainability of the network. Thank you, Guang. That's from the operator side.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your sharing, Ying and Kagiso. Yeah, from your introduction, we can see the fiber networks can improve the user experience, can create new revenue opportunities for operators, and can also lower the network energy consumptions. There are many benefits. I believe during the transition from copper to fiber, you recycle or reuse your retired cables, copper cables. So what are your experience and lessons from this recycling process? Also, still to our operator panelists, Kagiso and Ying. Maybe Kagiso, you can be first. Hi, Kagiso. What's your experience from the recycling and reusing your retired copper cables and infrastructures? Could you share us your experience? Yeah, please.
Sure. I think what we have found is circularity of copper has formed a critical part of our sustainability program. We have had to ensure that we align not only our recycling, but our network simplification, which comes as part of the transition from copper to fiber, with our energy initiatives in order for us to make sure we get the best value of running a low cost and high energy efficient network. And in order to do that, we have had to ensure that we use the transition from legacy voice exchanges as well as copper data services in such a way that it gives us the reduction in energy. And in that reduction in energy, we are then able to have our service providers that are enabling us to do the network simplification to be the ones that are part of the recycling process in order for us to get the best value with the copper. The copper would then be taken from us as the operator and provided to the service providers that are recycling the copper in order for them to get the reuse of the copper, either by operators locally, or that copper can also be sold. And this is how we have found the benefit of ensuring that the process of decommissioning is not just a process that is dependent and aligned with the fiber rollout, but also drives our sustainability initiatives, and also enables us to reuse as much of the copper that we have by leveraging the existing service providers that we have, and them recycling that copper.
Okay, so thank you, Kagiso. Ying, do you have anything to add regarding the experience and lessons from the recycling of copper cables or infrastructures? Ying, can you hear me? Okay, we may Ying maybe meet another problem, so the connection problems. So maybe let's move to the next question to John from TXO. During our studies for this topic,
I forgot to turn on the microphone.
Okay.
Okay,
please.
I will continue
with
the comments from Kagiso that we have China Telecom or have gives copper recycling. We think it's very important. So we have looked at every ways to reuse each item in another region or another role. So our experience centers on two measures. The first is to create a broad, green, transparent circulation platform that can unlock idle resources. We work together with major industry partners and build an open marketplace where retired cables, batteries, and boards enter green auctions. So every load is listed with clear data, every bid is public, and every transaction is traceable end to end. So far, the platform has handled more than 40 billion yuan of material and delivered the highest possible residual value. And we have another measure is strict control over any material that still needs a destructive recycling. Each batch follows a rigorous management flow and accepted only by certified recyclers. And this rule prevents any diversions into informal channels and guarantees that every step meets environmental and compliance standards. And we always bear in mind that we have to find the highest value for the retired coppers, and we have treated in an environmental way, a friendly way. And thank you, Wang. That's just a small points that added to what Kagiso has shared. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Ying. Thank you for your sharing. Yeah, as I mentioned right now, let's move to another question to John from TXO. Actually, during our study for this topic and prepare for our white paper, we have seen many operators are collaborating with the recycling specialist company like TXO to help them to recycle the legacy equipment or copper cables. So my question to John is from a recycling specialist point of view, what and how can you help a telecom in the copper switch off process? Do you have anything to share or to comment, to suggest to operators? Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a few elements that support the circular economy, and that's what it takes driven as a business. Is to reduce waste and increase reutilization of equipment. So we provide an end-to-end service across 150 countries. And what we do is we do the de-installation of cards, we do installation and commissioning in the front end as well. We do the de-installation, we test, and then we replace them back in the markets. So some countries are at the cutting edge of technology, but legacy TDM-based technology, SDH switching, things of that nature still need support. And some of them manufacturers have went, the OEMs are no longer, operators, the companies have went bust. So what we do is we repair and we retest and we reuse that equipment back into the marketplace, supporting critical national infrastructure in a lot of countries, but obviously keeping some of the legacy generation networks working until they move to the next generation. And that's a key part of what we do. And we probably do around 1 million parts a year to keep the networks going across the world. So it's from an ESG perspective, it's very fulfilling within TXO. We also do, we touched on some of my colleagues on this call. For one customer alone, we've over the last sort of 10 years, we've been working with them in parallel, and we've removed about 150,000 tons of copper. And what we do is we granulate that copper and it goes back into industries instead of mining. So that's a great thing, and it obviously offers a huge financial return to that business as well. So it means it's really critical for me and for TXO in particular to reuse as much technology as possible. One, because it keeps the legacy networks working, which provides great customer service, but there's also that recycling element. And we support some very big operators, your British Telecoms, your Vodafones, the Lumens, Deutsche Telekom, Orange, to name but a few. And they've seen the real benefit of us being able to support their legacy networks through us recycling and resurfacing equipment and repairing, but also getting a good value return from an economic perspective, not just an ESG perspective, that also helps them fund more and more regeneration of the networks.
Okay, thank you, John. Yes, I believe the recycling companies such as TXO will play a more important role when more operators pay attention to the circular economy, and they are trying to recycle their copper networks. Yes, and the regulatory policies is always a topic of WBBA. We hope to help our member companies to understand and influence their country's regulations. So my next question is about the regulatory policies to Kagiso and Ying. From an operator perspective, what regulatory policies do you expect to accelerate the transition from copper to fiber, or to encourage you to further improve the service quality of broadband networks? Maybe Ying, you could be the first.
Okay, thank you, Guang. And our experience and the research shows that copper to fiber transition succeeds only when regulation reflects local realities and is backed by clear incentives. And since 2011, fiber deployment has been written into the National Development Plan under the Broadband China framework. And so regions with strong demand and sound economies pilot first and policy requirements, while other areas receive targeted policy support so they can follow on a shorter learning curve. And for rural areas in particular that absorb the lessons of the early pilots, cut the trial costs, and benefit from additional subsidies that speed their rollout. In parallel, China has advanced a steady program of standardization. A series of mandatory national and industry standards resolves practical issues in installation, testing, and quality assurance, and keeping service levels consistent across the country. And with the mix of region-sensitive incentives and unified rural system, China's fiber penetration has reached 66.6%. And I think it could be a reference for regulators who seek to retire copper quickly without sacrificing service quality. So I think the most important to kick out the whole process, I think it should be like we have some subsidiaries from the government, and we also have some regulatory incentive measures, especially that at the beginning focused on the big cities. So I think then we could make so we could have good lessons and from experience from that, and so I think also the regulatory also see the good results, and then it could be a good then it could move faster in the process. And that's our experience from China. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ying. Kagiso, what's your point?
So thank you, Guang. To support Ying, clear incentives on the transition from copper to fiber, especially for either incentives for connecting rural areas where it might not be economically viable for telcos to go and replace copper with fiber, will definitely enable the ability to fast track the transition from copper to fiber. One of the other incentives as well is the incentive on e-waste and circularity. As soon as we have a clear direction on the targets and the incentives associated with transitioning from copper to fiber, as well as what we should be doing as operators with regards to our e-waste, the easier it will be for telcos to leverage and fast track their transition from copper to fiber. We also see that service quality as a regulation is one of the means that regulators would enable operators to fast track their transition from copper to fiber, particularly when government targets to reach certain population targets with certain performance target associated with the fiber. In most cases, you would find that be met by having fiber at a effective operating rate, and in that case, promoting the transition from copper to fiber. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kagiso. So I would like to be more specific about the recycling the process during this transition. So John, from a recycling company point of view, do you have any suggestions or comments to regulators on the policies regarding recycling retired copper cables? John.
Sorry, I didn't hear you ask me a question. I think there's, from a regulatory perspective, it changes on the geographies across the globe. There's certain standards that you have to adhere to from an ISO perspective, and also from a we processing. They slightly change on the geographical regions, so it's very, you have to, as a business, we have to be conscious to be very tuned up with them, all the changes from each geographic area, and make sure that you hit them regulations on a, you know what I mean, and you're also audited to make sure that you are producing the right documentation, you have the right, you know what I mean, accreditations that support that, which is a fundamental element of operating in this arena.
Okay, thank you for your very short, quick, but informative answers. And yeah, we are closing to the end of this webinar. So would you please give us a very short introduction about your plans for the next time? Ian and Kagiso, maybe could you introduce your plan or priorities for the circular economy strategies or programs of your organization? Maybe Kagiso, you could be the first.
Thanks, Kwang. For us, our plans are driven, one, by advocating for a recycling framework nationally that we can leverage to drive and incentivize recycling. Over and above that, we believe there is a need to have good partnerships with certified recyclers like TXO, because that ensures that the disposal and the recovery of copper is done in a responsible way. We also believe that in order for the recycling to be viable, it needs to promote collaboration with local communities in order for jobs to be created, as we continue to transition from copper to fiber. And that way, the impact of the recycling is not one that is just a beneficial to telcos, but also benefits the communities that they operate in. And moreover, the reuse of whatever infrastructure that is available is critical to ensure that all of the networks that are there that telcos operate and the equipment that the telcos operate are done as responsibly as possible by refurbishing what is available and the reusing of existing copper ducts for the fiber build to enable a low total cost of ownership for the fiber deployment.
Okay, thank you. Ying, what's your plan for the next step?
Okay, because for sustainability, China will continue to advance the circular economy. Firstly, we will deepen the digitalization of our recycling platform. As I mentioned, in the transition of the copper to fiber, that we already use that recycling platform. And this platform has now covers the entire country and already handles the full chain of asset management. So with the help of this platform, we achieved like 1 billion revenue US dollars and pushed the reuse rate to almost 100% in 2024. So by further integrating digital technologies, we expect to raise both the financial and economical value of recycling resources in the future. And besides, we are building a bi-directional green supply chain network that allows retired equipment to move rapidly to regions where it can still be used. China is very big, so we could have do this. So like province level panels have lifted the reuse rate of base stations units to 93% and compressed the redeployment time from 5 days to a single day. So over the next year, we will extend this model to more equipment and regions. So make sure that every valuable component remains in productive service for as long as possible. And finally, we will reinforce our work on international cooperation and standardization. And China Telecom is already an active contributor to the international organizations like ITU, GSMA, and of course the WBBA. So with whom we have just co-released the white paper that just Guang has introduced. I think through these channels, we will keep sharing experience and also absorb experience from the other key players. And our goal is to accelerate the global green transformation of the entire telecom industry. And thank you, Guang.
Okay, thank you, Ying. So my last question is to John from TXO. And from your point of view, from recycling specialist point of view, do you have any suggestions or comments to telecom operators to improve their circular economy activities?
That's a very, very good question, and I think there's not a one answer that encompasses all. It depends on. So as you refer to, we're specialists in the repair and recycling, of equipment. I think that it depends on the volume of their legacy network. How much they're going to retain and what their timelines depend on the geography of when they want to exit from legacy and move to a full fiber-based technology. From our perspective, it's working. We work with the operators in a partnership and help them accelerate in some elements. So we do a lot of activity where we can review their networks, we can help plan, we can build a project plan for them, support them, do all the engineering of extraction. And what we do is we push that back into the operator, and they can use that cash that's generated or that's generated to repurpose to buy new technology or to accelerate their decommissioning procedures. So it just depends on the operator, the size of their network footprint, how far they are along in the process. We have a number of initiatives and a number of processes that we're using currently with a large number of operators to accelerate the removal of copper and the removal of legacy technologies.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. I think from all of your sharing, we can see the collaboration between telcos and recycling specialists, and also experience sharing between telcos are very important for our industry to proceed with the circular economy strategies, and also to accelerate the transition from copper to fibers. And actually, we have received a few questions from our audience in the Q&A area. Because we are a bit behind our schedule, so I can just, I think, pick up one question. And for others, for other questions that we can't answer online, we will be sure to share your questions with our speakers and go back to you offline. So the question is about how can developing countries turn copper retirement into a catalyst for 5G and fiber rollout, and what financing models are most effective in supporting this transition? What measures can be taken to boost the investor confidence and provide guarantees? I think it's a very good question. Maybe Kagiso, as an operator from emerging market, would you take this question?
Thanks, Juan. I think one of the opportunities with this recycling of copper is the potential capital outlay that would come from the resale of the copper as part of contributing to the fiber build. And if done responsibly, if extracted properly, if the operator has a good audit of their copper asset, it makes it very easy for them to quantify the asset that they have in copper and potentially leverage that as an opportunity to fund the fiber build. That's the one opportunity. The second one is in terms of reducing the cost of the fiber build, the reuse of existing infrastructure that was used to deliver copper services like ducts, as well as poles, would significantly reduce the total cost of the installation and thereby reducing what is the actual required capital for the outlay. And that also comes down to a good audit and an understanding of the entire copper infrastructure, not just the cabling, but the ducting, the poles that are being used to be able to build the copper network as an input into what can be leveraged to fund the build of the infrastructure. Of course, in most cases, the value in having fiber comes with new services that are being developed on top of the fiber, and thus AI, cloud, as business cases for driving the demand for high-speed connectivity becomes an adjacency that operators would be used in developing countries to localize content, engage with hyperscalers as part of driving the new services that require high-speed broadband in order for them to be able to have additional revenues, not just the existing copper revenues, but additional revenues that incentivize operators and telcos to invest in the transition from copper to fiber.
Okay, so thank you, Kagiso. Thank you for your very detailed answers. I think you can answer all these questions, and I think it's time for us to close the webinar today. I'm sorry for the audience that asked questions but have not got answers. We will go back to you after the webinar. We will reply to you offline. And also thank you all, Sarah, Kagiso, Ying, and John. Thank you for your time and expertise about our topic today. And also thank you to our sponsor, WBBA, as well to everyone in the audience. Thank you for your attention and participation. Okay, within the next 24 hours, you will receive a follow-up email and the details and the link to today's presentation on demand. And please feel free to invite your colleagues and peers who may have not been available to listen to this event. This webinar is copyright 2025 by Informa Tech Target, and the presentation materials are owned by or copyrighted by all media and the WBBA, and the individual speakers are solely responsible for their content and their opinions. On behalf of our guest, WBBA, and the all media team, I'm Guang Yang. Thank you for your time and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.